Okay, hello. I've just put some petrol in the bike, but basically get myself ready for tomorrow, where I head to a town called Huesca. Phil Cross here. I'm literally a fill up away from making a film where I had a little bit of a rant about commissioners and Sadiq Khan. So I'm still in that frame of mind, I'm afraid. So, Paul Condon, thanks Paul for all you did, which was basically hamstring the police, the Metropolitan Police, and probably the police around the country, to be fair. So, institutional racism. The Metropolitan Police accused of this because they were able to say that there is a disproportionate amount of young black males, I would suggest, is the predominance there, but there was a disproportionate amount of black males being stopped and searched compared to that of white. Okay. Metropolitan Police and the police forces around the country have for many years, certainly a long time before my time. Oh, a little whoompa going on there. Sorry people, just done a zebra crossing. That's one in the post. Yeah, where was I? So the police services, forces, whatever you want to call them, through a great many years, certainly a lot, many more years since before I joined, used what were called race codes, identity codes, IC, okay? And these race codes, when they were first introduced, were based on the predominance of that particular race. So, for example, IC1 was for white people because predominantly on the island of Britain, white people there. So there was more of them, so they were IC1. IC2, sort of the white-skinned, olive-toned Mediterranean types, like your Italian, Spanish, that kind of skin tone, but still white, if you like. IC3, black males. IC4, Asian Indians. IC5, Asian, Chinese, Japanese types. And 6 was Arabs. So that was our race codes. And whenever we had to stop and search somebody, we had to fill out a stop and search record, and within that record the IC code would be put. So there you are. That's the basics of it. When we went to work, we had what was called a collator, and the collator was basically an intelligence officer. And the intelligence officer, generally speaking, was very long in the tooth on the borough, knew an awful lot about the miscreants on the borough, and in the collator's office they would have photographs of those that were, to coin a phrase, at it. So at the time that the McPherson stuff was going on, I worked at West End Central. West End Central covers Soho and Mayfair in central London. When I worked there, there were 5 teams. So you would have a team that worked earlys, a team that worked lates, nights. You would have a team that would be on rest day, and you would have a team that was on sector day, and that sector day was either a 10 to 6, 10 a.m. till 6 p.m, or a 6 p.m. to 2 a.m, and it was basically to overlap and help cover the other shifts during the course of the day. So that was that. At that point in time, the collator's office was a little bit more than just who's at it on the borough. There was a system in place where we had prominent and development nominals. So prominent nominals, prom-noms, were the cunts that were fucking at it all the time. Okay, recidivists, there's a word you don't hear very often anymore. Recidivists and just dirty fucking no-goods, okay? Known to police because they do a particular type of crime. They commit a particular type of crime. So I'm just going to wait for this car to come past, nothing coming. And then there was development nominals. And development nominals were those that were coming to notice of the police. They were starting to be coming up into police stops, starting to get arrested, coming to notice. Criments, which was an intelligence system. If we stopped somebody, we would put a crimint on, just basically explaining what the circumstances were of the stop and what they were wearing at the time, because it was the kind of record that we would make. So for example, I'll use Joe Bloggs for want of a better fucking name. Joe Bloggs is wearing white jeans, got red trainers on, yellow t-shirt and a blue jacket, just for, you know, and I'll put that on the description. And then 5 or 6 hours later in the day, we go to a hospital where somebody's been fucking battered, and their description is red trainers, white jeans, yellow t-shirt, blue jacket. Fuck me, that's Joe Bloggs. That's what he was wearing earlier. There's our starter for 10 at least. You know, not to say that people can't dress in the same way, but to have that kind of colour coordination, you've got to be fucking mad. Okay, so that was how that sort of system worked. So we had prominent nominals and we had development nominals. And when I worked at West End Central, the prominent nominals tallied at around 18. Okay, there were 18 people that came to the West End on a daily basis to rob mainly drunks. Okay, people who were drunk and unable to defend themselves. Okay, that was what they did. They didn't live in Soho, they didn't live in Mayfair, they came from the outer line boroughs, more often than not South London. North Londoners tended to be burglars, white, but the majority of people that were coming from South London in order to rob drunks at night just happened to be, of those 18, 16 of them were black. Okay, 2 of them were white, but 16 of them were black. So I'm going to use the name Joe Bloggs again. We've got a young black male, Joe Bloggs, who is a known robber. He's coming into the West End daily and he robs people. Fact. Early, late, nights, sector team. There are 4 shifts at work on that day. And those 4 shifts, I can guarantee you, at least 4 or 5 times each shift will stop and search Joe Bloggs. Okay, because he's a fucking wrong 'un and he's there to rob people. And when we used to record the stop, we would include how much money he's got in his pocket. The fact that he's not there for a job, he doesn't live there, he's here, this is what he's wearing today, and he's got 53 pence in his pocket. He's got a return ticket to Croydon or wherever it was that he came from. Okay, that's the sort of information we record. And then later in the day, he'd be stopped and searched, and now he's got £2, say £50, say £50 and a penny in his fucking pocket. So where's this extra money come from? Because he's not there working. Okay, so then it's like our alarm bells are ringing. So we can look through the systems. If somebody's been robbed, the circumstances of that robbery, the type of robbery that they commit, and we can start getting it down to our starter for 10, and the likelihood that it was actually Joe Bloggs that committed that robbery, and that's how we worked. So earlies would come on. They'd probably, because it's sort of early in the morning till early afternoon, maybe 2 or 3 times Joe Bloggs will be seen by a member of that early turn team and he will be stopped and searched. Then late turn comes on, coming into the early evening, coming into the late evening, and he's likely to be stopped and searched 5 times, maybe 6 times by members of that team. Then night duty, still there at fucking night, because they used to stay there for fucking ever, these robbers. And he gets stopped another 6 or 7 times. And in between that, the sector team that was on, you could probably guarantee that somebody on a sector team would see him and he'd get stopped and searched, and maybe equate that to sort of 2 or 3 times. Okay, so we're looking at, on a daily basis, Joe Bloggs was being searched anywhere between 15 and 20 times a day. times that by 16 of the robbers that used to come into town, okay, on a daily basis. And when they decided to look into whether it was a disproportionate amount of black males getting stopped and searched, they didn't look at the fucking names. It's fucking simple maths. Joe Bloggs has been stopped 16 times a day for the last fucking week. But no, that's not how it worked. They counted the IC3. So there's been a black male stopped 16 times a day, every day of the week. Not Joe Bloggs, a black male. Totally you can't tie the two together. So it's simple mathematics. It wasn't disproportionate. It was the Metropolitan Police trying to keep you fucking safe while you were out on the piss, getting yourself in such a condition that when you wanted to go home, some fucker would come and knock you on the head and take all your money. Okay? And that's what it was about. That's what it was about. The counting was fucking wrong. You should have counted the names. How many times has Joe Bloggs been searched? Well, he's been searched 1,000 times a month. But it's Joe Bloggs, he's a fucking known robber. We can forget that. That's not disproportionate, is it? It doesn't make sense to me how Condon couldn't see that when most of us could. And he just rolled over, didn't he? Just rolled over. Yeah, he was racist. You know, every single copper that is employed is now tarred with that racist brush. And yes, mistakes are made. Yes, there are times when people are stopped and searched, probably not justifiably, and probably treated badly. But that's a copper. It's not the fucking police, which is something that the press always do. Okay, Cousins raped and murdered a young girl, and all that was reported was the police. You're no longer safe to be around the police. We were as appalled as anybody else that happened. Okay, Sarah didn't deserve that. She didn't deserve that. And I can't begin to imagine the fear that she was going through when she suddenly realised that she wasn't actually being taken to a police station. And if it was down to me, he would be left fucking bleeding in a gutter somewhere. But the press, the police, you're not safe around the police. We have all these movements that come out because they've got fuck all better to do. We're not safe with the police. It wasn't us. We didn't do it. Cousins did it, who happened to be a police officer. And you're always going to get a fucking bad egg in whatever job it may be. There's always going to be a wrong one in there. Shipman is a fucking doctor supposed to save life. It doesn't get hammered the way it does if it's police. You, the public, need to fucking deal with this, because what's happening is the police service is becoming useless to you because you won't support it when it needs your support. So there you are. Institutional racism, disproportionate searching, in a nutshell, mathematics done fucking badly. I'm going to leave you now. Cheerio.